We have a really special episode for everyone today. We got a special guest. Really excited about having a guest. It's been a few episodes since we've had one of our exciting guests on the show. And today we have a great one for you.
Welcome to the Black and Blue Podcast. This is episode 16, and it's Meet John.
Yeah.
So excited. He's a white belt under me. My name is Travis. I'm the black belt. We got the Canadian tree stump Emmett, blue belt under me. We got white belt John.
That's right.
So looking forward to this podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. I thought we'd kick it off by having you kind of introduce yourself a little bit, like who you are, where you're from, your age, and then we'll get into some stuff about your jiu-jitsu journey, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, sounds great. My name's John. I'm 47, and I'm new to Dark Horse Martial Arts. Thank you for having me join the club. It's been a fantastic experience the last 6 months that I've been here. I'm born and raised northeastern Ontario, which is a great source of pride. My family's still back there and get a chance to go back a couple times a year. So that's where I'm from. And then I moved out to Alberta shortly after graduating university, and I haven't left. I love it here.
What town in Ontario?
Timmins.
Oh, Timmins. Yeah, I think you might have told me that.
I actually know someone that used to live there.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
I love it up there. It's a beautiful place.
I know nothing about Ontario, but I know someone from Timmins.
It's the topography is a lot like Kananaskis, just without the mountains, and unfortunately, it's got black flies, and
Yeah.
so avoid the month of June.
Everywhere in Ontario, I've heard.
Yeah.
Like I remember the old school Canadian cartoon is like the black flies of Ontario.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. That's crazy. I haven't seen that.
It's like old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What's Timmins near?
nothing.
Oh, really? It's super far north?
It's about 8 hours north of Toronto, approximately.
Oh, wow. Really?
So it's a gold mining town. So it's a smaller town, but because it's so isolated, relatively speaking, it has a lot of there's a lot there for a town as small as it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place.
What's that lake way up north called? You know what I'm talking about? That it's like a super blue lake? I'll have to come back to that.
Yeah.
Lake Timmins.
Yeah,
Lake Timmins. Yeah.
that's right.
And
So, sorry.
Yeah.
Being
Go
from Ontario, I gotta ask.
Please.
Are you like a Toronto Maple Leafs fan? Okay, good.
No.
We can continue now.
okay, we can continue.
Yeah, we don't want to bring that bad juju onto the podcast.
Fair enough.
Any Toronto Maple Leafs fan, we're just kicking them out
Right.
immediately.
Yeah, if there's a Battle of Ontario, it's Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get behind that. As long as it's not Toronto, we're good.
Well, it just gets jammed down your throat, right? You can watch a 30-minute episode of SportsCenter, and it's 21 minutes of actual episode, and 19 minutes of it is Toronto. And then you get the rest of the world in 2 minutes. So after a while, and I went to school just outside of Toronto for my post-secondary, and that's all you heard was, so when life outside of that area, the Golden Horseshoe, all of a sudden you realize, oh, they play other sports around the world. So yeah,
Weird.
yeah, I'm not a Toronto fan, but
Yeah. I worked in bars downtown Toronto for many years, and it's just, it gets tiresome, especially all the losing.
Yeah, choking. They choke as hard as the Edmonton Oilers. Like brutal.
Ooh, okay. It's still pretty raw on that one, but so one of the reasons that we were really excited to have you on the podcast today is to get your perspective, both as someone so I'm 48. We both have started jiu-jitsu a little later in life, but also because of your profession, which is you are a police officer in Calgary.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I guess I personally have a lot of questions about how BJJ ties into being a police officer, self-defense situations, things like that. What were some of the reasons that you decided to take up jiu-jitsu? And you also mentioned at one point that you had actually started before.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Where do I start with jiu-jitsu? I have studied a few martial arts over the years, depending on where I've lived. Like before I came to Calgary, I did
Capoeira.
I did a little bit of judo.
Okay. Well, that's a legit sport.
Yeah, not like I did it in the summers when I wasn't in university, and so a friend of mine who was quite passionate about it, said, come out. And so I certainly, and like, I just grew to appreciate just how much you could learn. It was always like every class was like a learning experience. And so that was just nice to kind of, I just enjoyed it, really.
Yeah.
It's hard to summarize it succinctly, but.
Do you still have the judo gi?
No.
Oh, because you and Emmett could have connected over that. He still has that old ass judo gi.
Oh no, it's been thrown out.
Oh,
It's been thrown out.
Right. Yeah. So that was that. And then I've done a few things over the years. So I did some jiu-jitsu in Okotoks when I was there, but that was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But I always just appreciated it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge of it. Like I said to you before, like the positive grind.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
The grind.
sometimes the hardest part is getting to class.
Yeah.
But once you're there, it's like, okay, it's easy to leave like whatever ego I have at the door and then just come and learn. So, and then I came here and it's been amazing.
And so with regard to, like, I know nothing about what it takes to become a police officer. There must be some level of fairly advanced self-defense taught in, like, is police academy a real thing?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope in all the aspects of it too. Like
Yeah.
the noise guy. Like,
Yeah.
That's there's a lot of police academy jokes when you go through training. For sure. It's like,
I don't think that you could get away from that.
Yeah.
I think it's like
It's like a rite of passage.
rite of passage. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, we just finished rolling, so it's been a long day and tired. I'll finish the sponsored
Yeah.
drink at some point there, but
Gatorade.
it's training. My hat goes off to the team that provides the training for us. They put a lot of thought into it. It evolves constantly based on new things that they learn, and not only they learn internally that what works and what may not, what's effective, but also what we learn externally.
Right.
It could be even from the courts. It could be decisions made. It could be like, well, what's causing injury to our people? What's causing injury to the people that we are interacting with and where we have to use force?
Yeah.
So it's a really nice evolution. Seeing what is taught now to our newest members when it comes to certain firearms handling and things like that. Like things evolve. So do our tactics. So do, now we have drones, right? So for our traffic people, for helping to reconstruct some of the scenes that they go to so they can do it fairly quickly, but then still have a high standard for court, things like that. So it's just this nice evolution, which is great for somebody who wants to enter into a profession that, like, you're going to be required, may not be the right word, but you're going to be learning all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, even something simple as like the computer systems. Now we have, and this is a great tool, but we have our cameras that we wear, our external vests, cameras in our cars. Like, I mean, so it's just, we didn't have that when I started.
Yeah.
So it's just nice so in terms of like subject control tactics is what we call it.
Subject control tactics.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there's different terms, but that's essentially the one that's most prevalent that we use. So they teach a blend of stuff that is, you can teach somebody when you don't have, years and years to teach them.
Right. How long do you have?
So the initial training for our officers is 6 months.
Okay.
And that's to teach somebody that has no experience, and then mentor them through a introductory program covering all aspects.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's enough?
I think so, yes. They do a really good job, our learning center. And I'm not just saying that because I work there. Like, they do, because at some point you have to start applying it.
Yep.
So once you graduate, you're put with different officer coaches who are like, and I think it's quite an honor to be an officer coach. It's a huge responsibility, and you have to now apply to do that. You get special training to do it, and then you're responsible for a trainee. And then that lasts for another 3 months, bringing it up to a total of 9. And then our officers are on probation for another 9, where there's some check-ins and mentoring that happens. So it's kind of like an 18-month. And then we start getting into like the in-service training after that. That's recurring. So
How often do you have to go back for like to re-up the training? Do you have to?
Yeah, so there's definitely mandatory training, and depending on what it is, yeah, we have to go back sometimes it's every 10 weeks, depending on what it is.
Oh, wow.
Depending on what they're trying to cover off. Sometimes we have qualifications in that mandatory training. And then we have mandatory, much like the world, like e-learning that we have to do, which is important to do because sometimes there's updates. So I did some e-learning yesterday on a topic that I would say is the most difficult call for service that I go to personally. And so this was a great refresher on just what our best practices and the impact of getting it right and the impact of getting it wrong. So it's
can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I personally think the hardest thing that I have done is delivering a death notification to a family.
Right.
That's not expecting. Oops, sorry.
Good.
I mean, it's probably a gradient or a spectrum of things that are difficult, and maybe on any given week, month, 6 months, a year, depending on what is going on. But I would say in general, those are tough calls. My last 3 that I had to deliver were like my third last one was my hardest. And then my second last was the hardest. And then the last one I did was harder than the other 2. So it's nice. Well, I mean, sorry, when the ongoing training's nice because it's like, it brings you back to, okay, I know that's my training. That's what I did. I did the best I could with what I had.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the in-service training.
I mean, it's good that you're here because one day I'm going to choke out Travis and you're going to have to deliver some bad news to somebody.
Yeah. You're going to have to let someone know that Emmett has been dreaming again.
Right. Huh? Yeah. Not to go super negative sort of early in the podcast, but I think for me, that's where the training is really good. The recurring training is so important. It's that, like you are doing it right. Keep doing it that way. And then when it evolves, you're like, oh, okay, now I need to do it this way.
Right.
So
in terms of physical training, like, say, I don't know how else to say it, but like combat or jiu-jitsu style grappling, do you have to go through like training every so many years to like kind of re-up that? So
we do have our in-service training, like subject control tactics training. We have mandatory qualifications that we have to do. Yeah.
All right.
You know, it's by pure happenstance. I was watching a video today. I think it was in Australia where they were multiple officers were taking down a subject who had what do you call that? Like a butcher. What's that?
Machete?
Like, no, it's like a square thing that you chop with, like a
butcher knife.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. It was a edged weapon. You know that like they're square like that, and it's like a butcher's chopping thing. It's like
pretty sure that's called a butcher's knife.
Maybe is it? I don't know. Anyways,
you had me at edged weapon.
Yeah. So this guy had an edged weapon, and like what I noticed in the video, which was really interesting, is how choreographed it is between the officers. So it's like one is taking him down, one is isolating the weapon, one is kind of like supporting the other officer. So it's not just like I know how to throw a guy down. It's like we know how to coordinate to take a subject down in a way that isn't going to harm them, is going to keep everyone safe, is going to keep the weapon isolated, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Working as a team is a huge it's huge. It's really like a foundational thing because you have all of these. Like I'm privileged to work with like really talented, motivated, dedicated, and caring people. I don't just say that because we're talking with the mics on. Like I believe that
for sure.
And so there's times where it like find a job, right? So if you've got, I mean, it's everything in life, like. But even when dealing with subjects, it's like find a job. So if you're fifth one in, okay, what do you need to do next? Right, cover off a doorway, cover off a stairs, secure, like even a set of keys. Like if you see it on the counter, throw it in your pocket so that subject doesn't. Because what are you trying to do? Like, over the last, it's been more than 5 years. The calls for service that we go to that involve mental health and different levels of mental health is it's hard to describe unless you see it. That and missing persons, those are really challenging calls. And because of the unpredictability, and then missing person, sometimes you're fighting against the clock. But back to like coordinating, like sometimes it's somebody's experience a mental health episode, and like we all know, like they need help.
Yeah.
Okay, so at some point we got to get them to a healthcare professional, get them to the hospital.
Yeah.
So then you start breaking down that elephant into like little chunks.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the best tool we can have, the best skill is listening.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then sharing with them, but then it's the coordinating, right? So, that's the one thing. Like I've been very fortunate to work most of my career on patrol by choice, and because it's that opportunity to go in there and listen, be sympathetic, empathetic, and then help them, because sometimes like they're not having a good day.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly. Like sometimes it's like they need help.
And you're sorry, you're removing factors one by one, or like anything that could negatively affect the situation. You're like isolating those factors and removing them from the equation.
Best you can.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Travis.
It's a lot like jiu-jitsu, I guess. It's isolate an arm so they can't use it. Isolate the other arm.
Yeah,
it is.
So they can't use it. Then choke Emmett out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
Make Emmett to rethink some life decisions. That's what I tried to do. I tried to do that tonight, but I'm glad there's no footage of that.
Well, I mean, I got cameras. We can take a look.
Yeah.
That's going to take quite a bit of editing and post for it to come out the way.
Just reverse it.
That's right.
Just play
That's
it
reverse. Where I'm smiling at the end. Yeah.
And has doing jiu-jitsu made you think about the physical confrontation, or physical? It's not a confrontation, I guess, right? It's a interaction that you have with what I don't know. What do you call it? What do you call someone in a situation like that? A subject? Yeah.
Yeah. Subject is subject is a common term. So years ago, the service correctly changed the name, I believe. We used to call them use of force reports, and now over the last, goodness, it's been a long time, but we call them subject behavior officer response reports, because that is actually genuinely accurate. Like somebody's doing something. I mean, I forget the stats now. They're the ones I'd have to look them up. But like at one point, I mean, we were having 250,000 interactions a year, but the number of times we actually use force is like, it's shockingly small. It's almost a rounding error. It's very small.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
It's very small. And I mean, that's a testament to the professionalism of our officers and also the public. Like there's two people, there's two groups there, right?
Yeah.
So then the number of times you have to actually use force is relatively low, thankfully. I mean, we don't want to get anybody hurt, and also like that you can get hurt as well. So the idea of like, coming here and getting back into jiu-jitsu, it's like you can improve all the cardiovascular stuff, obviously, like the strength, and like even all the little things, like all the jiu-jitsu muscles that hurt that I forgot that I had. I have them again. And
the cardiovascular, I gotta like give you props. When you first started, I was like, whoa, he's like huffing after like 2 minutes. Now we're rolling a full round, and you get up and you're like, yep, I'm good. That's actually really cool to see. I think we talked about it a little bit. I was like, dude, do you remember? And then you're like, yeah, now you have that back. And it's like,
thanks.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool.
It is cool. I feel it as well. Like even coming in and just being able to have, and then it's neat too, because even like, not without even trying to put sort of any sort of like effort against the grain, but you coming here is a keystone habit as defined. There's a book I read. It's a couple. I mean, there's lots of books that I read that I love, but one of them is by a guy named Charles Duhigg called The Power of Habit. And then standing on his shoulders is a guy, James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. And I've read those books multiple times. But in those, they talk about these keystone habits. So like coming to jiu-jitsu. Okay. So, and now, I want to get better at that practice. So not only just showing up, but then, maybe I'm going to mountain bike more, or I'm going to like run more, or I'm going to be in the gym more, just so that I can be better and more functioning here. So it's a nice way to kind of
Yeah.
put it together.
Yeah.
Physical fitness wise, like I stay physically active, but it's nice to have like a goal. And for me, a really close friend of mine who behind his back, I sing his praises to his face. Of course, I have to cut him down. And
I cut this guy down all the time
Yeah.
behind his back. Well, I cut him down too, but
I've heard you say a lot of when he's not here, he throws a lot of compliments out. So
I can only imagine.
yeah, those are not on camera.
they're really nice, but we don't have enough time to talk about them here. But a close friend of mine, when we talked jiu-jitsu and when I told him I was going back, and he's right. He's like, just keep showing up.
Yeah.
Just keep showing up. And that's one thing that
Does he train?
yeah.
No. Does he know Dark Horse? And he was like, oh,
No.
Just try to keep showing up.
He met you not long ago.
oh, really?
Yeah, so I can tell you who he is after. But
Yeah.
he's a really close friend of mine. He and I work together.
Okay. Cool.
We worked in the same area, and we've been through a lot of really great moments, and we've had some hard times too.
Nice.
But
cool.
He's a guy I rely on.
Oh, wow.
I think the world of. So yeah.
With regard to the habit thing, I think it was you that used a term that I have incorporated over the last couple of years, which is making things non-negotiable. Like jujitsu 2-3 times a week for me, non-negotiable.
Right.
It's just like my family knows it. Like, yeah, I'm making a sacrifice by not being with them in the evenings, but it's a non-negotiable thing.
Yeah.
And like, it's something that even having that term kind of in your brain where like you set something aside as just not being something that can be messed with, like I do this. Yeah. Something's buzzing down there.
Yeah. Keep going.
Can you move your feet back? Let's see if that's doing it. You have radioactive feet.
Say my magnetic personality.
No, well, I think it was a couple episodes ago. I had something plugged in down there, and it's just like
half plugged in. And I was like, "Come on, Emmett,
yeah,
just plug it in."
We had the same buzzing thing, so we're just not very high tech, John. We're just a couple of guys.
Before we started, you said you told me to do better and suck less. Is that is that karma?
Yeah. That's my teaching method. Yeah. But so I think, where we were going with that a little bit was there's actually very few times when there's the necessity for physical intervention with people, right?
As a percentage, yes.
Yeah.
Mentally, you're always preparing for, we talk about like when then scenarios, if then scenarios. There's different terms they use over the years for the same idea. It's like, what's your plan? And you start preloading a lot of plans. And over time, that becomes much like when we were rolling the other night. I mean, you're seeing what I'm trying to do. And then when you caught my right arm, and I just laughed. I didn't mean to laugh, but I was like, of course, that's what you were. I see it now. You were setting me up very kindly and caught my right arm. And then I was like, I had plans with that arm, coach. Like, I need that arm back. Thank you. But there's a lot of, that's the thing. Like, I went to a call years ago, and stop me if I'm, sharing, like, because, but it's
your podcast.
Well, yeah.
I was going to say it's my reality.
Oh,
but but it's true though. But in the sense, like, we go to this, what at the time was for me was a stressful call, and I was with my partner. We were alone. We were first out, and there was an unknown threat, and there was a person that had been shot and killed. We didn't know they were dead yet. But we're moving up and we're doing all this stuff. Anyway, so you fast forward through the whole end, we secure the scene. The person died. They were killed by somebody else. And so then I had a body-worn camera, and I was one of the first testers to have this camera. So we get brought over to the homicide team and to give like a briefing of what we experienced. And it was still all very real. Like, it was still all like, holy smokes, right? So I watched my footage once. It was right back in the moment. And in a good way, but it was like this was dangerous because we don't know. Hindsight is nice. And then I watched it the second time, and then I watched it the third time, and it was the most boring YouTube video, it's not on YouTube, of course, but like it was the most boring. But it was the most boring video I'd ever seen, and I was there because there's no danger,
right?
So when, like, I think a way to frame it for me is like, yeah, statistically, there's a low likelihood that we're going to have a physical confrontation on a call for service, but it's a non-zero number
because it's already happened.
Right. So yeah, so like the last patrol shift I did not that long ago, like I'm here with you guys, like,
Right.
not injured,
Yeah.
aside from maybe some jiu-jitsu injuries.
Yeah. Ego injuries.
No,
Yeah.
not even. Like, actual,
Emotional when I took your right arm.
that's right. Yeah. No, I can show you the physiotherapy bills. It's okay. It's all good. My buddy
You
and I,
signed the waiver.
that's right. No. No, they're all super minor. A friend of mine, the one that trains in Cochrane, he said to me one day, he's like, yeah, I spent whatever thousands of dollars on that year in physiotherapy. And I said to him, I totally believe you because you're a very slow learner. So that's what I expect.
Savage.
Oh yeah, no, to our face, we're
I love it.
we're very blunt, but I think the world of the guy. But to your point, like, yeah, statistically there might be a low likelihood, but then there's so much pre-planning. So, the things I would say and do like alone are very different than what I would do if there was you and I, like, or my partner. And then if I know there's a car crew outside, and then what are we trying to accomplish? Like, what's our objective? Sometimes our objective is just to listen. Like, somebody's called us because they're going through, a separation.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's no laws that have been broken.
Yeah.
They think there may be some laws because how they were treated. Okay.
Right.
Just listen. And
Totally.
that's sometimes people not sometimes people do want to be heard. They want to be respected. They want to be given options, not threats. Normal human stuff.
Yeah.
But going back to like the subject control stuff, like, but always being mentally ready, like your brain is primed for a response to ever changing stimuli.
Right.
Until you're clear. And even when you leave, say, a house, if say like a domestic violence call, like everything's safe now and you're walking out, well, you've just had your police car parked down the street for the last 30 minutes. So now it's all your unknowns. So even when you go back to your car, so a lot of times we'll get back into our car, we'll drive to another point, and then we'll start debriefing in like a safer.
Yeah.
I mean, Calgary is a phenomenal city. Like, the support we have in the community is second to none, but you just still go someplace safe and then to debrief. So we do have to use force, but it's not that common.
And so you've been here 6 months, and you're kind of probably getting in better shape. Like Travis mentioned, you're being kind of probably a bit more aware of certain types of physicality. Like, does it make you think about those situations differently, I guess?
I definitely feel like even when I was training in Okotoks, like, your confidence goes up. It's like, so there's I love watching like all those things to do with like space and all that stuff. So there's a guy by the name of Frank Borman. He was one of the Apollo 8 astronauts, and he has he has a quote that I always think about, and it's to the effect of, along the lines of, a superior pilot uses their superior judgment to avoid situations where they need to use their superior skill.
Yeah.
So we trained that.
Yeah.
I was emergency vehicle operations instructor for a while, and that's one of the slides that they put on the screen. So you can be a fantastic driver, and I've had the privilege of working with some officers that are phenomenal drivers, like just second to none. But it's like, well, but use your judgment so that you don't have to drive like
nice.
like
Yeah.
lunatic, because I think it's like you're 200% more likely to get into a crash driving lights and sirens. Okay, well, if you
really?
yeah, the stat is something like that. It's high.
It's because the other people panic in front of you.
And sometimes they don't see you. Like, I was hit once early in my career, and even back then I was like made fun of by my team that I was a slow driver, and I was even slower after that, because not when it mattered, but like just on general patrol or just driving around. Because like, how many times do you have to, like, does that have to happen where you suddenly like, okay, wait a minute, like, so I was going to a priority 1 call where I thought this woman was being like really beaten, and then it came over the radio that this, like, and I was by myself. My partner, I dropped him off at the office so he can get something done, and I got T-boned in an intersection, and I think it was okay, but I never saw the car coming.
Yeah.
They were a blacked out car, no headlights on, no nothing, but I was clearing the intersection and got hit. Well, now I can't go and help, and that was the worst part,
right?
Because my sisters and brothers are going and I can't get there.
Yeah.
So you kind of, so that whole idea of both your superior skill, your superior judgment.
Yeah.
So you don't have to use your superior skill is a big. So then even just using, like, knowing, like, more, even what I've learned here with both of you and the whole club, is it just increases your confidence to be like, okay, well, when I find myself in this situation again, when I have to do this, like, you're dealing with somebody maybe as tall as Coach Travis, or, you know, okay, well, that's different because, or somebody younger, somebody older, like it's just,
or
Stumpy.
stump.
or somebody shorter. Yeah. So it's definitely, and that's too, like, one of the concerns that I've heard is that, so you talk about like mental states of readiness. Like if you're comfortable in your skill set, you'll move more fluidly through the options that you have versus all of a sudden, and I've heard Coach Travis say this, like all of a sudden somebody's got back mount on you and they're trying to put you in a rear naked chokehold. And that's the first time you've had arms around your neck. The response is going to be a lot different than you starting to, or colored belts starting to defeat that as they feel it coming. So that even just training here, it's like, okay, when someone takes back mount on me, it's like, well, we're with a lot of amazing, like everybody here's been amazing. I'm not just saying that, that's, you know, that I've told you that and it's the truth. Like the people here are amazing, but I'm not worried. So I'm trying to like, you know, cause you know, so, okay, well then, okay, I have a lot of bandwidth cognitively left over to try to like, okay, how do I fix this? Yeah. Cause I'm like, I've been in physical confrontations before. Yeah. So, and I also know that it's a safer place here. Right. So
It's a place where you can practice rather than oh shit, this is happening kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of training environment I want. And then consequence, or like actions have consequences if the action is inaccurate in its ability to go through it. Right. And you're like, oh, he's going after my neck. Oh, how did he get my arm? Why am I in an arm bar now? Yeah. Oh, what is happening? And then you start to build on that on the mats, which is, we're essentially play fighting. It's not fighting.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it sucks.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about it.
But I think what it makes me think of, and I know that being a police officer, it's a little bit different because when it does become physical, you don't correct me if I'm wrong, but like the more I learn about jiu-jitsu, the more I'm like, I'm never getting into a fight, because you never know like what weapon a person has, how good they are at fighting, what training they have. Like, you know, you take a few classes and you're like, all right, I'm a badass. But the more you learn, the more you know that avoiding physical confrontation is the only way. I mean, yes, sometimes someone's going to tackle you down to the ground and then you're engaged. But like, you know, when you're talking about the astronaut quote of, which I couldn't even repeat if I tried right now, but using your superior judgment, it's like the superior judgment is to not get in confrontations, right?
I've even heard Jocko say that once when it comes to like his skills as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. He talked about, he's like, my first option is, and these are his words roughly, I run away or I avoid. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, like it's ingrained in our response to freeze, flight, fight in that order. Yeah. Because that has the highest likelihood, or I should say the lowest likelihood of injury in that order. Yeah. So that's one technique that, you know, just rarely do you need to run into something. Yeah. Like, so we had a call once where front door of the house was open. Somebody looked in, a neighbor looked in and saw their neighbor lying down on the ground. So they don't go in. And so our officers are going. And so I was a new supervisor at the time. And so I was trying to think through my mind, okay, like running through those scenarios, like, well, like somebody lying down on their front porch or inside their front step, it's like, that's not inherently normal, right? They're not having a nap. So then, well, what causes them to do that? So they're about to go in and they can see no obvious signs of trauma. But one thing was like, well, is it carbon monoxide? Like what has caused them? So at that point, it's like, yeah, we got to get there. But there was a call. Right. We lost.
But you don't want to rush into it before assessing it.
I think it's a continuous evaluation of risk reward. It's really constant, because there was a call, and I looked it up a couple of years ago, and I was talking about it at one of our pre-shift meetings. Every patrol shift, we do a meeting at the beginning, which is fantastic to get everybody together and just talk about, you know, the previous day, concerns, anything they've learned, things like that. And it was a call where it was a medical call. I think it was in BC, and a worker had fallen into one of these like large tanks. And so when they looked in, they saw them motionless at the bottom. They called, the paramedics attended, 2 paramedics went in, they lost consciousness.
Oh, wow.
And then the
H2S kind of thing.
I think there was a lack of oxygen in the tank.
Whoa.
So the next 2 paramedics go, and the interwebs will correct me with the number.
Yeah.
The next 2 jump in. Well, there's no oxygen to breathe. So there's no like take a deep breath and hold it.
Right.
But there was, I don't know what was pushing the oxygen out. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was one of those where, don't get me wrong, like those paramedics, gave their life in the service of others, and it's,
Yeah.
but it's one of those calls where you're like, you think about it, you put in your memory bank, and you're like, okay, well, like, what's caused this person to fall? Like, is it a unsafe structure? Is it just medical? And don't get me wrong, you don't stay at the door for very long before you figure it out, but you do have to come up with a plan to go in, grab onto them, and pull them out, as opposed to maybe stick around. And that one there, I don't remember how that one ended, actually. I think it was medical in the end, but just these things that it's like I said, a continuous evaluation of risk reward.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember being in the oil field, and it was like H2S is a major thing. And like,
What is H2S?
It's, I can't remember what the actual is, but if you like inhale too much of it, it just puts you out, and then you die. You die within a couple of minutes.
It's super quick.
Yeah.
Hydrogen sulfide.
Yeah. So it can leak out of like the wellhead, and then the wells are in a berm. So they're in a little like grotto kind of thing.
Right.
Because if the oil spills, then it's contained within that berm.
Right.
But if the H2S comes up, it's heavier than air. So it sits in this berm. And like, if you go down and into it, like we all had monitors, but some of the monitors sucked, and like, or some people wouldn't wear them. And we were trained like, oh yeah, if you see a truck on site and a guy out, you don't go on, you call. Because if you go on, you're the second guy out. And I remember that was like ingrained in my brain. I was like, okay, well, like we had like SCBA, like scuba kind of masks and stuff like that. That's why you have to be clean shaven.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, if you see that, you have to like go, you have to resist that.
Yep.
I need to go help that guy.
Right.
You have to be like, what's the situation? What's going on? Radio, stay a safe distance away, and then have someone else. And then if your monitor is going off, you have to get your ass to the truck, or you have to get your SCBA on immediately, because it is like within like 30 seconds or something that you're out.
Yeah.
And like it's one of those ones that smells like sour gas, like propane almost, like it's stinky propane, but you smell it for half a second, and then it kills it all up in like your nail, and then you can't smell it anymore. And maybe you're like, oh, I caught a whiff of something, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep working on this end, blonk. And then,
oh man, that was like my rash guard a couple weeks ago.
The $80 one?
Yeah, the $80 one. Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago.
Today,
the one you wore tonight,
man. So I'm gonna go off on a small tangent here. This is a police officer story, and because you were just talking about the being at the doorway,
right? So
this is many years ago in Vancouver. My girlfriend at the time, her house got broken into, and then we came back to the house having been broken into. And we kind of got there, and we were like, the door's open like that, and like I'm kind of like looking in, and I'm like, I don't know if someone has just broken in. I don't know if there's someone in there, so call the cops. And which we talked about before the episode. I think it's okay to use the term cop.
It very much is.
Constable on patrol.
That's right.
So it's an acronym.
It is an acronym.
Yeah.
So
not many know that, actually. Well done.
I know that from advanced driver training, and they're like, yeah, you're not allowed because it's this. I was like, oh no, I know a lot of cops, and they don't mind being called cops.
It probably just depends on the inflection.
Yeah,
Like,
there's probably
they're cops.
There's probably some things that you could put before that word that make it inappropriate.
So okay, so and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going in here. So I call the police. This officer arrives. He's not with a partner.
Yeah,
big guy, and he comes in and he's like, yeah. So what's going on here? And I'm like, I start explaining it to him, and he's like, oh, I forgot my pad. I'll just write it on my hand. So he starts taking notes on his hand, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, so we don't know if someone just broke in here. We don't know if there's someone in the house. And he's like, oh, did you want me to check around? And I'm like,
Nah, don't worry about it, bud.
you're the one with the gun and the training, man. Like, I don't want to do it. So I felt like he was kind of like, maybe he knew there was no threat there. Cause like, why would there,
How would he know?
but I don't know. But I was like,
he wouldn't know.
that was a negative police experience that I had where I was like, come on, man. I don't, like, yeah, maybe lack of training, something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, no, that's not what we do.
That's not what we do.
That's not what good police officers.
I knew once he started taking notes on his hand that maybe he wasn't like a
Oh no, that can happen.
Oh yeah.
That
Okay.
can happen when you leave. Well, when we used to have paper notebooks, we still do as a backup, but you just forget it. I mean,
Yeah.
heaven forbid you forgot your paper notebook on the photocopier,
Right.
because then it would be collected. And
I feel like that's a personal story that someone just within this podcast left their paper notebook.
I have not thankfully left my paper notebook. However, I've been a part of rituals that we have to help teach other officers to never let that happen again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you might have your book,
Rituals.
put in a plastic bag so that for safekeeping, and then placed in a large container of water that gets put in the fridge so it doesn't go missing.
you just make sure that it stays.
You have to make sure that it's there's information on those notebooks sometimes.
Yeah,
For sure.
Might go in the freezer
Private
part of the fridge.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Well, because you can keep it safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because no one's going to walk off with it.
Well, in case of a fire,
Case
the
of a fire.
freezer is the best place for your
There you
important
go.
100%.
documents.
No, there's certain rituals that people have to go through. And,
Very thoughtful. Yeah.
it's really just thinking of their best interests.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful. Yeah.
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 Next
10
time I find Emmett's notebook, that thing is going in a plastic bag.
Well,
In
and
the freezer.
and sometimes it's, to show that you have the notebook with you at all times through your shift. It might get a picture in front of the Calgary Tower, certain landmarks,
Oh, nice.
and just to let your teammate know that it's still safe.
Yeah,
You
That-
have it.
That's good to know.
So if you see an officer writing on their hand, it's a real thing.
Okay.
It happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I guess I shouldn't judge that specific officer too harshly.
You could.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't do that. Like that would be a higher risk where we would have a plan for clearing the residence to ensure it's safe.
Going in guns blazing.
Yeah. And just start
John
firing.
McCain style, right?
Maybe not blazing,
Oh.
but no, you have to assess it, and there's unknown risks.
Do you like my gunplay there?
It was-
That's how you.
John McClane,
Is there anything that sticks out in your mind? Again, kind of jumping around a little bit here, but with regard to, things getting physical on the job, like anything that sticks out in your mind as something that was particularly harrowing or difficult or challenging from a physical altercation perspective?
There's been a lot. They can be always challenging because you're using, like, what's the objective? Sometimes you have somebody that's, I remember one person we had called 911 and said, we got there and there was not a lot of information. It was fairly benign, but still your guard's up. So my partner and I, the three of us, and we get there and we're trying to figure out what's going on, but no one's talking. So somebody called 911. So like, what's happening? So a young fella sitting on the couch, young fella, like, early 20s, is sitting on the couch and he says, I really need help. Okay. Like, what's up? And he says, I've taken a lot of cocaine.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I've taken a lot of cocaine. He's like, I don't feel well and I need help. Okay. Like, we'll help you. Like, so we called the EMS. So we're going to take this guy to the hospital, right? Like, this guy's, because we don't know. And then all of a sudden, sorry, I'm laughing, but all of a sudden he stands up in an instant and he ran through, and I saw the whole thing, but it's not like he was trying to go after the police officer. He just like had that tunnel vision and ran like literally through this officer, like knocked him over. So now we all take off after him. And then now to get him into custody, but again, like going back to what I said earlier, it's like, it's not just like he runs, we chase, but like he's having a medical emergency. He could be like, why is he all of a sudden like he's changed, right? And so now he's running. So it was the three of us to use as much, like, again, coordinated tactics to get him into custody as safely as we can, minimizing his injury and our own. Like, let's be completely honest. But yeah, thankfully we did. And then I remember, so we had him on the ground and put him in a recovery position, and then the paramedics showed up and they started connecting him to one of those ECGs, and his heart rate lying there at rest was well over 200 beats a minute. So I thought right away, I was like, oh my goodness, like, sir, if you could, if it's not too much trouble, please don't die. Thank you. Like,
Yeah.
I never said that.
Yeah,
but like in my mind, it's like, well, then that all of a sudden changes like that continuous reevaluation of priorities where it's like, we need to get this guy to the hospital, like right now. Like, so that was a very intense physical struggle with this guy. Because again, like he's not directing, he's just trying to escape whatever that
is happening in your
happening to him. Yeah. So, but there's lots of those where somebody is just not coming with us.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember at a party, there was a guy, sorry to cut you off, but I remember at this party, this guy, he came in and like we knew him, but he came in and like he just looked out of his mind. And we're like, hey, bud, what's up? And like we'd been drinking, but he was on something. And he's like, I don't know, I just did a whole bunch of like cocaine and stuff. I was like, okay, well, you good? What's happening here? And he's like, I don't know. I think that you need to call someone. So we called.
Did he sound that much like Beavis?
Dude, it was yeah, it was crazy. It was even faster than I can talk pretty quick, but he's like, yeah, I need to get here. I need something. And like, it was just illegible, but I was like, oh my goodness. And then we called, and then he saw the lights because they put on the lights to get there. Cause we're like, yeah, and then he saw that and he just started, it's the fastest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like,
it is hard to describe. Like when people in that state,
he was sitting on a couch, like a couch was from a college dorm. So it wasn't a nice couch and it like sunk in. On the best of days, it's a hell of a time to get out of this couch.
Yeah.
Sober. This dude got out of the couch, through the front door, like through it. He broke the screen and he was down a block by the time we got to the door.
Whoa.
We had like quite a few drinks in us, but still we're not like bumbling idiots. We're like, whoa. And like, we kind of went after him and then we're like, he's going that way. He's gone. And he just like the fastest thing I've ever seen.
I think I hear what you guys are saying, and it's that if I do cocaine, my jiu-jitsu will get better.
Probably.
Right?
You should try.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Officer?
How did we talk about cocaine? That's why I thought about that story. There's a ton of stories. There's a ton of like, at some point, sometimes there's somebody's committed a criminal offense and they're coming with us.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that, like, what next, what now, or like it's a quote that it's a great quote. It's a great question, I should say. It's like, what's important now? And my colleagues, we've heard this since we started, and we hear it all the time. And didn't even start in law enforcement, but famous Notre Dame coach said it to his players, like to help prep them for decisions throughout the day. And so you like, ask yourself that question 50, 60 times a day.
What's important now?
What's important now? What's important next? And so it's that. That's me again, I think. Sorry. That's a lot of, even like, Travis, you're telling, the story of the guy running down the street. It's like, okay, well, if we know who he is, maybe like he comes with us now, or we come up with a plan to get him later.
Yeah.
So, like in domestics, for example, like, we've all, any patrol officer's gone, you go to domestic in your first shift, domestic violence call, sometimes like, well, what's the most important thing we need to do now? Well, the safety of the people inside. Okay, well, if the subject who is alleged to have committed these offenses is left, okay, great. Let's make sure everybody's safe. Nobody needs EMS. Okay. And then now we can start figuring out a plan for locating them. So anyway,
I think that's a great way to even look at jiu-jitsu.
What's important now?
What's important now? And more so like when you're first starting, what's important now, rather than I know all this and then like it's crazy, right? But what's important now? And then when you get further along in the game, it's like, well, what's the next step and what's important after that one kind of thing. So
That's literally the conversation we had today, right?
That conversation today.
When we were talking about as a white belt, because John was saying like when he's rolling, if I can paraphrase,
Please.
you know,
not well, but
not
he's
well,
going to do
but
Do your best.
I'm a human tree stump. You know, you can only expect so
Canadian
much.
tree stump.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
That kind of what you were saying is like you get sort of caught up in, okay, what is my opponent doing? What can I learn from what they're doing? How can I kind of like take a snapshot of this move that they're doing in order to incorporate that into my own practice? And what I said very wisely, I think, was, you know what, as a white belt, the only thing you need to be concentrating on is surviving. And you can kind of break that down into 3 or 4 primary like pillars of thought, which is like, am I breathing? Am I creating space? Am I taking space away from my opponent?
That sounds like you stole it from Carter.
I probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So paraphrase within a paraphrase, because that would definitely be something Carter would say.
And then like things like, am I turning in or turning out? You know, like, and then if you stick to those pillars of, knowledge or whatever, the other stuff, it'll come in time.
Can I just point out how well John's been doing like this and talking around the microphone?
Oh yeah.
Both of us.
Yeah.
And then we get Emmett that we're 16 episodes in and he's like, yeah. And then we do this and then we go back and it's just everywhere. And John's talking with his hands and he's still like
Not
moving
smashing
around
into the
right.
mic and stuff.
That mic pretty well.
Okay.
Just
See how it is.
And talk.
See how it is.
everyone that's just listening are like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. All they hear is just
Yeah. So anyways, guys, I'm an animated guy. What do you want, what do you want from me? But yeah, we literally had that conversation today about
it's a great way for
it's a
any
really great
white
way,
belt,
yeah.
anyone that's new, what's next, and keep
What's
those
important,
and keep those pillars
yeah.
there. Like, oh, I don't want to get armbarred. Well, keep your elbows tight.
Yeah.
That's a good tool right there.
Yeah.
You don't want to get like choked. Well, it's pretty hard when your elbows are tight and your hands are up around like protecting your neck.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And speaking of your jiu-jitsu journey, have you had any big like aha moments so far? See how I'm turning my head like this now? Have you had any big aha moments so far where you're like, oh, that's how that works?
I've had, and I don't just say this, like I enjoy every class. It's that Bruce Lee quote, like when the student's ready, the teacher appears, and I find I can learn from, and that's why I'm here, is to learn and to get better and then to be a good training partner to whoever asks to roll or whatever. Like I was rolling with Trillian tonight and that was awesome. Like amazing hooks. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I'm going to remember that for like amazing hooks. I was really impressed. And
Avon's been like mentoring Trillian.
Yeah.
Avon and Danielle have been mentoring her. And I'm like, oh man, she's going to just be a handful in 1 year.
Yeah.
She's got that mental, like, I'm going to take that guy's neck. Doesn't care the size.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
She did say that when I slid my left hand under her left shoulder, like to grab her gi. And she's like, oh, that's what you're doing. I was like, good on you. Good on you. This is what I'm doing. Yeah. No, so it was aha moments, is just being able to roll with somebody where I think my first one here was like getting through the end of like some of those first rolls.
Yeah.
And even just being able to finish it satisfied that I was like my good friend who trains. He says, one of the things he tried to conceptualize to me was, and I don't know how, please jump in because how accurate this is, but this is maybe the words he used, knowing me as long as he has, is, like one thing for me is like try to use less energy than your training partner.
Definitely.
Right? Like,
oh yeah.
Okay, so that's good. We haven't had this conversation yet, but like try to do that and try to stay ahead of your breathing, which is something you always help me with, which he also says the same thing. It's like, don't get behind your breathing and try to use less energy. And like tonight when we were rolling, I was using way more energy than you were. You were basically doing zero energy output. And then I caught myself being like, no, but credit where it's due. Like you were doing really well. But there I am trying to like use both of my legs to grab one of your legs and I'm trying to hold you. And it's like, okay, well, and then going back to that, well, what's my objective? What am I trying to actually do?
Right.
And then you even said like, hey, catch up with your breath because you're getting out of breath. Like,
Yeah.
you're right. So these aha moments is like, and then for me, it's all the little ones. You know, it's like showing up and then actually being able to all of a sudden, like something that we've been working on back mouth this week. And so, you know, rolling with Pierre, like, oh, okay. And then I was able to, you know, move my hips like you showed us to try to, for the defense. So those, to me, I love it's made up of a lot of little aha like moments. That to me is what I carry away, as opposed to a big, like, holy moly, like that was amazing. It's more of I love all the minutia.
Yeah.
And being able to like apply something I learned the day before or the week before and be like, oh wow, like it actually worked. Or pardon me, I was able to execute it in a way that was effective.
Yeah.
And an improvement on the week before.
Like we did an episode not too long ago about plateaus and how those bigger aha moments, they do come where it's like you have something happens in a role or someone explains something to you in a certain way that it actually does, it'll change your whole trajectory. I like what you're saying about like the little ones count too along the way. And then when you get those big ones, they're especially rewarding.
Right.
Definitely. And like when you go from the little ones and you can actually take information from little aha moments, that's exceptional.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't see it that way. They don't go, oh, well, yeah, I guess I'm getting better. They're not seeing those little aha moments.
Right.
And like a good coach that's watching, and I'm not saying I'm a good coach, but someone that's actually watching will be like, oh, he's starting to get it.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to move. They're starting to do that. And then you can kind of focus a little bit more towards that. When you're first starting, you just show them a mount escape and you're like, work on that. Like, and they want to see everything, but like, you're like, let's just work on these little things.
Yeah.
And then like you roll with them and you give them that little bit of a mount escape and then they do it. And then you see that little, oh, they're like I have to say a high percentage of people are like, go, oh, it does work. Whereas a smaller percentage go, oh, okay, I see why that worked.
Where else can I apply this?
Yeah. Rather than, oh, it does work. It's, oh, I see why.
I understand the principle behind that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually a better word than pillars or whatever I said before. Like, keep your mind on the principle, like these several principles. And it's like, and then all those, that's a great way of looking at it. Like all those little things contribute to understanding the larger principles if you're looking at it through that lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your goals for jiu-jitsu?
As small as it is I believe this, it's like, is keep showing up with, like, I can only control two things I've learned in life. And thankfully I've learned these two things like early in life. I've had some great mentors and in my family and friends. I can control my effort and I control my attitude. And I live by those. I think about them, reflect on them often. Like that's what I can control. So for me, like goals with jiu-jitsu was like, I had a long day today. It was a tough day today. That's why I'm dressed like this. Thanks for waiting till this part to start mocking me for the, no.
I don't want to get pulled over on the way home.
Oh, please. No.
Waiting. He's like, yeah, say some shit about my collared shirt again. We don't know why we're like raving now.
Before we started, why are you wearing that? Because I raced from home or from work to here.
Emmett said it too. Because I remember I walked through, I was like, oh, you got a collared shirt.
Why are you wearing a collared shirt? I'm like, I just came from
I actually only asked if he had showered.
Oh, okay.
Because he's putting on a nice shirt.
This is all I've got. I've got a gi that I need to wash before I ever think about putting it back on. And I have this. That's it. I wasn't 100% sure we were going to do this tonight, so I was like, okay.
You look a lot nicer than we do.
100%.
So
it's just normal.
I put on my fancy hoodie because I was like, man, I can't just show up in that t-shirt when he's got that collar. I've got to put on the fancy hoodie.
Right. Yeah. Put on a new hat.
That's Travis's tuxedo, right?
Yeah.
I'm a hoodie and jeans.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it's my.
I showed up and I was like an officiant for a wedding, and I was like, I don't do like suits I did a suit for my wedding and like funerals if that's what's required.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and they're like, no, we wouldn't have asked you because if we knew like what we wanted. So I showed up in my fancy flannel shirt
Yeah.
and nice jeans, like my dress jeans. I
Yeah.
call them dress jeans, and I get
Yeah.
ridiculed because they're like, "Wow, are you from the farm?" I'm like, "Hey, I did my boots. They're nice and clean too." So that's the guy that you're getting. That's the guy that you hired. That's the guy that you wanted.
Yeah.
And they're like, "We wouldn't have changed it." I was like,
Got my good straw hat on.
yeah, pretty much. Oh man,
Authentic people.
I forget what, oh yeah, we were talking about
Sorry.
goals. Yeah.
My goal, yes, is to keep showing up, and which I know may sound sort of like, well, of course, because you pay, but it's deeper than that. It's like, I know I enjoy it here, and just to keep coming and keep learning. And if it's sort of a bigger goal is I'd like to keep training here and one day earn a blue belt, and then but it's more of a, I hate to use the cliche, but it's a journey, not destination. It's just, I extremely enjoyed training here, and I enjoy jiu-jitsu, and it gives me lots of benefits. Yeah, at home, but at work.
At
But
home.
when I say oh no, yeah,
go to sleep.
there's no jiu-jitsu at home. I get told that
Yeah.
very clearly. When I say home, I mean like personal life, right? Like,
Right.
it helps with your mental health.
Oh, totally.
Which is, one of the things I'm super proud of our organization in the strides it's made in the last, since I've been there, with recognizing mental health. And we have a whole operational wellness section, and the work they do. I mean, like, and how they help our people is, I can't, there's no time that we have together to maybe explain my gratitude for like the work that we do to recognize it. So we talk a lot about, like training and physical stuff, but yeah, like it's all to help support the best mental health.
Yeah.
So like, I love coming here, like the feeling I get when I leave here, having the camaraderie, right? The support, like people. And so I want to, those are my goals, is to keep contributing to that positive community.
Yeah.
It's super important.
I think, I think police don't get enough credit for what they do on the mental health side of things. Like I keep kind of like touching on it in the podcast. I had a neighbor who was like, had extreme mental health difficulties, and it was really hard living next to him, and we'd have to call the cops all the time. And invariably they would show up, be patient with him, sometimes take him away to like make sure he was safe and stuff. And there were times where he would get heated, and you never ever saw a police officer sort of like even get remotely sort of like triggered by it. Like just be like, okay, we understand what's going on. Like, how can we help you? And they kind of, because the system itself is kind of flawed with regard to supporting mental health, police officers wind up being the front line of mental health management,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, when patients and they need a little support. Something I learned early on, but I mean, this is, from mentors, but even just like in our training, it's like, treat the people you like, think of somebody you love and care about. And then the people that you,
Travis,
my dog.
Yeah. Oh, weird.
Yeah.
No,
Still not getting that third string.
but you think about those people, and then how would you want the person that you care about be treated when they're like, so that's what you told me. I mean, our people deal with those calls every single day.
Yeah.
No question about it. Every single day we're responding to a mental health call where somebody's in crisis, where, their health team has done the best they can. And part of that treatment is to get them back into the community. And then sometimes they have a little oops along the way, and we get involved to help them get back to the care that they need. So, but the organization has made such amazing strides, and even some of the resources we have, like when I started, like now, if we can talk to a healthcare professional just by like 24/7, literally call them up.
Like for your own,
for internal and for helping people in the community.
Right.
So like to have those resources where you can call somebody 24/7 and be like, hey, I need this is what I got. What do you think? And they're like, so we talk to a mental health clinician, and they can check the computer, and they're like, yep, you got so-and-so. Yeah. Bring them in. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then they start working on behalf in the background.
And even like, societally speaking, like the recognition that people aren't bad or evil or it's like these people are experiencing problems that go well beyond what they're currently engaged in at this moment is a huge shift, from decades past and times past. Yeah. Yeah, that's it's tough. It's tough when you're in it, like me having a neighbor who, like, I wanted to kill that guy, but like you do, like you're saying, if you put yourself in their shoes, or you put someone you care about in their shoes, you're like, yeah, well, I wouldn't want the police to just show up and lock him away. That guy, yeah, but not someone I care about.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even your response to the stressor, right, referred to as an amygdala hijack, like it's an immediate safety response to a threat.
Oh, totally.
Right? So,
yeah. Amygdala hijack.
Right.
Yeah.
So your emotional center of your brain fires quicker.
Yeah.
And that's when the reps come in, where you're like, which going back to jiu-jitsu, but like, why I want to train. So it's like, okay, this guy's done this, or this lady's done this. And you gain the experience to be like, okay, well, like I'm going to be able to work through this part of it.
Right. And I think, and we've talked about that lots of times on the show, where it's like, in those situations, you know what? I'm not getting choked out right now. I don't have someone's knee in my belly, or I'm not getting like my neck cranked. So maybe I'll be able to react to this situation a little more calmly. Yeah.
It's a great sport for that, where, you know what? I've been through worse. Like in terms of like almost bullying on the mats kind of thing, where you have a knee on your belly, or someone's like slowly choking you, and they're like, just like, come on. But it's one of those environments that can really instill mental strength. And not only does like the physicality part of it, but the camaraderie, where 100%. Everyone's there to make you better, like to make everyone better, like the rising tide raises all boats kind of thing. And that's what we kind of want. That's what that's my main goal here. I want this club, like, say something happens to me, I don't know, whatever, and I can't, I want it to keep going because everyone else can fulfill this role.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to get the influencer anymore, but you're gonna have enough people that care about the community. Right. And that's why I'm probably one of the worst businessmen, but I do strive to make one of the best communities within my community.
Right.
And that's my only objective. That's all I've ever cared about, is making a community within a community, and make mine, what I can control, awesome. And I want, like, anyone that's out there in like Canmore, Banff, the Bow Valley, wherever and they have a Dark Horse shirt on, and people are like, oh yeah, you guys do awesome stuff, like you guys give to the SPCA, and that's all it is, right? We're just trying to build that community.
So I should stop choking out seniors with my t-shirt on.
Well, it depends on the senior. Is the senior like driving like a jerk? I mean,
no. What's the senior doing?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe let's not go.
I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
Riding a scooter and safe.
Yeah. It's just easier to choke out seniors. So that's
riding their scooter on Highway 1A.
Oh,
yeah.
Just trying to be polite on that one.
Yeah.
Did that happen?
No, we had a conversation. Yeah, it was a question if you can go on a scooter to highway speeds. And I was like, I don't think that's legal.
Like a rascal, are you talking about?
So to start this off, it was Elliot had a position in this conversation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Probably, and then we could probably move on now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can move on, but
so
I'm pretty sure I had the right position.
In keeping with Elliot, he was asking, is that legal?
Yeah. He was.
He literally just wants to know what things are legal, even outside of jiu-jitsu.
Whether it's jiu-jitsu heel hooks or this
riding a scooter on 1A. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll gloss over moral and ethical, Elliot. We'll just talk what's legal.
Yeah. But yeah, one of the things we also talk about on the show a lot, just going back to goals, is having like short-term, mid-term, long-term goals.
I agree. Yeah. Super important.
And yeah, it sounds like you're kind of working those out, but you have, your short-term goal is keep showing up. Your mid-term goal is get a blue belt. And then long-term goal,
Get a purple before Emmett.
yeah.
That's a goal. I want to keep training, and when I get the chance to earn those things, then that'll happen. But
Clearly you're already better at using the microphone than me. And we've been doing this for 4 months or something.
We got to keep the black and blue going, and I'm never going to get any other belt other than just a black belt.
Right.
He's going to get blue belt. You can just
Why? What's wrong with how I do
That's right.
this?
That's right.
But yeah, it'll be good. Like especially once you start learning a bit more about pressure. That's gonna be
horrible for so many people. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that too. That should be another midterm goal for you is like just maximize pressure on people. So,
We'll work on it.
Yeah.
which Travis hurt my feelings the other day because I was like, how's my pressure in that roll? And he said, inconsistent. So I was like, oh, I thought I was doing pretty good, but yeah.
It is mediocre.
Yeah. Kind of shitty, actually.
Yeah. It's a challenge sometimes for me as like new to this club and new to the curriculum you're teaching and things like that, is to try to like park things that I know subject control wise.
Right.
And then really want to learn this, because like learning it as a complete, help me with the word, but like not just complete system, but like it's a school, it's a way of, it's a curriculum, it's a way of life, if you will, on the mats and in competitions, but like trying to like really focus on, like, and it's the simplest way could be like when I'm here, it's like using less energy, using more technique. I mean, you shared that once about a black belt. I don't remember their name you were speaking about, but you encouraged anybody in our club to go listen to this person because they had reached a certain level, and like because they were extremely good with their technique. And so that was like a goal to work on. And then also you said something when we rolled a month ago or so, and you made a comment about rolling with me, but you referenced my profession.
Oh yeah.
I laughed and I was like, what rules are we playing with here right now? Are we going to keep you doing jiu-jitsu? And then it was one of those, right? So it's sometimes it's a challenge. Like even just like I grabbed onto Jared's hand one day and he's like, oh yeah, you can't do that. Oh, sorry. I'll let go. The way I was trying to grab onto Sans.
Jared cheating as usual.
Well, no, yeah, right. Yeah. But no, he was great. He's a gentleman. And he's like, yeah, you can't do that. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I do that all the time. Like it's a very effective technique for grip.
Oh, okay.
Right? So I'm loosening his grip.
Right.
But apparently that's not, to quote Elliot.
Yeah, it's like more than 3 fingers or more is to take off a grip.
Yeah. So 3. Yeah. So 3's the maximum that we'll use. To take 4, depending on the angle, can be tough with maintaining the control. Because again, it's not, my goal isn't to grab your fingers. Like I'm trying to achieve something further. Same as rolling in jiu-jitsu. I'm not just trying to like put a frame in.
Right.
I'm going somewhere. But yeah, so there's little things, and that's been tough. But we talked about this before we started, recording. It's, talking about like, it's easy to leave the ego at the door, but sometimes those habits, it's like, okay, right. Wait a second, what do I need to do here, right, jiu-jitsu wise? Because I want to learn to be better at this. And
the objectives are different. Like the end objectives are different in a way, right? Like you're in what's it called? Subject control. Yeah. Like it's.
But again, what's the objective?
You're not play fighting.
No,
you're not play fighting. Yeah.
But sometimes people are just trying to get away, and that could be okay. Like okay,
yeah.
Well, but depending on where you are, what time of day are they posing a threat to somebody else? Like, and with experience, you start doing these evaluations very, very quickly. Yeah. And sometimes it is disengage.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
that relates to jiu-jitsu right off the bat. Like they are very good at wrestling. You're not going to be like, okay, let's both stand. Like if it's a competition, you're not going to be like, okay, we're both standing and I'm going to sit. Right. Yeah. That's evaluating. Like if I feel someone hit a heavy collar tie and then they're like, I'm like, ooh, okay. And then they start to like duck unders. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sitting. Yeah. No, you're right. You evaluate that really quick off of their actions and reactions.
Yeah. But the end goal being different too.
yeah, the end goal, it's, why are we there? What can we help this person with? And, some things, like, we're not going anywhere. We're not leaving. And that's most calls, man. We don't just walk away from things, but
Yeah.
Being patient, like one of the things, going back to that superior judgment.
Yeah.
They don't view superior. Like, I love it when I get to see a police officer who's been practicing our craft for so long, and they'll just listen and they don't interrupt, and they just, and it's amazing, right? Because they know, like, they're giving the person that chance to be heard. And then sometimes it's like, I had a call once where we had to help mom. There was a family, 2 young kids, and I won't, for the benefit of the podcast, I won't go into some of the details because maybe it's a little bit more. Again, we talked about this before. One of my concerns in chatting here is, like, just because I see things through a little bit of different lens. And so what's normal to me is, like, I get reminded sometimes, like, that's not normal.
Right.
And it's like, okay, fair, but
Neither is strangling people that you call friends
yeah.
on the daily.
And they choose to.
Yeah.
But this
They
family,
pay.
They
Well,
pay, yeah.
me.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I took mom to hospital, and then at hospital, she told me some stuff about dad. So it's like, okay, well, now the kids are in danger. We have to go back. We didn't know this, but we need to go back. And so we had this standoff with dad in his kitchen, and he's holding his kids. And that's, like, one of the things, if you're going to try to apprehend children, like, it obviously it's impactful on them, but like getting it to the point where you almost have, like, this standoff. And so then going back to that, okay, like, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. But what's important is the kids.
Yeah.
Right? So what do? Listen, talk to him. And eventually this one ended in such the way that he just, okay.
Yeah.
Because we were taking his kids. Like, there's no questions asked.
Yeah.
And so we used a little bit of subject control tactics, but anyway, not to get.
It's interesting because, like, one of the things that I was going to ask is, as a general question, not so much related to jiu-jitsu, but with regard to being a police officer, is what are some of the characteristics that makes a good police officer? And it sounds like it's being open-minded, being a good listener, being empathetic. Those are actually the basis of
having humility, right? Knowing that you can do so much, but you can't do more than you can do, and recognizing that, because that can be really tough, right? Because you go in there with good intentions, like anybody does, every profession, personal life, professional life. Like, we try our best generally, like humans, generally really good. But yeah, the humility, gratitude, empathy, like being able to evaluate through different lenses.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
right. See it through their eyes
as best you can.
Yeah.
With authentically, right? So I remember we hired this young guy, and one of he's been with us for many, many years, awesome officer. And I remember him showing up and thinking to myself, holy moly, like, this guy is, like, super young, right?
Right.
But what does he do at calls? Well, he has no advice to give, but he can listen.
Right.
So same with me, like, I was in my mid 20s when I started, and, like, what life experience do I have?
Right.
Like, not married, no family, like,
right.
I'm not giving any advice, so I don't give advice.
Right.
But I can share my experience.
Maybe that's how, when you ask me questions in jiu-jitsu, that's how I'll approach it, because I don't actually have any good advice to give. So I'll just be like, well, here's some things that happened to me.
But I find too, like, giving advice is sometimes it feels it's a quick solution.
Right.
But you're telling somebody what to do.
Yeah.
I think you should not buy this.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Well, what about just, like, I've bought whatever phone. This is why I bought it, because it was half the price.
Yeah.
And you can decide.
Yeah.
And we do this all the time at work.
Well, people just want to be
options.
heard too.
They want to
right?
be heard.
Yeah.
And they want to be respected.
Yeah.
I've brought so many people to jail, and they shake my hand. Well, yeah, they're a human being. They made some decisions that resulted in them being there.
Right.
Okay. It's fine. So yeah, on your question, yeah. Just one of the ladies I work with, like, she has a sign above her desk that says like be a good human.
Right.
Right. Like, so
seems pretty basic.
it is basic. Just repeat it consistently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Over and over and over.
Just over and over.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Any other questions for John?
Okay.
tonight?
We're going to do one more question.
Okay.
What's the biggest animal that you think that you could fight barehand
And win.
and win? You're in a cage. You're locked up. What's the biggest animal that you think that you could take?
I really should watch that last podcast.
You probably shouldn't. You probably
should have.
Yeah.
The biggest animal I can take.
And win.
Cougar.
Cougar? Full blown cougar?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
brave.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Oh yeah, you could.
No.
There's stories in our even Bow Valley where people.
There's stories. We're putting quotation marks around.
Oh,
it.
no.
Not full blown cougars.
I talked to a park warden, and he was telling me one time that, and I believed every word of it. This guy's changing a tire on the side of the road, and this cougar jumps on his back, and the fight's on.
Yeah.
And
Dude, I
just
just see a little house cat, and they move in ways that don't make sense.
we're talking theoretical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
mean, yeah, we'll hit it up on cougar.
I don't know, man. Like the cougar,
Surprise, we have a cougar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and when I say cougar, fellas, I mean like a large cat,
Right.
Ones that see out in the wild,
Right.
right,
Not the rat, the Rosencrantz.
right, yeah. Let's be clear. Yeah.
Cool. I think other than that,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy that we got to, well, at least have a constable on the patrol allow us to say cop.
Yeah. No, that was a really great conversation. I do want to tease what I think is going to be our next episode,
Oh yeah.
which I think is going to be a fun one and another sort of like departure for us, which is we're going to try to have Jason on, who we've talked lots of shit on the podcast.
And we're gonna continue to talk shit about him.
Oh yeah.
But he'll be on the podcast.
But he'll be on the podcast. We'll be talking shit about him. And at least in theory, what we're going to try and do is talk about our favorite, the best. Oh, you don't want
the best something.
the best.
Yeah, we're all gonna come in with the best something.
Yeah. Okay.
And
You
then
wanna keep it a little bit mysterious.
Mysterious.
Okay. Sounds good.
But yeah, Jason. Honestly, I'll say one nice thing, but he is one of my favorite partners to have up and drill and showing the technique
Yeah.
because he knows everything like that I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he moves the right way. It is fantastic
That's
to
a
have
big
him.
compliment.
And the humor that he can like, that we can like go back and forth with.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to run a class with that. Like rather than like someone that doesn't know what the hell and they're all stiff and you're just like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Like, just like chill, like relax. He's one of the best that I've had for demonstration partner up at the front.
So what you're saying is his best skill is being a training dummy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's his. I'm pretty sure that's his only skill.
Because we can just get one of those dummies, like
Yeah, but they don't have arms, do they? Or one of those like sitting dummies,
or like a cool accent. They don't have a cool accent.
Yeah, that's true.
the sitting,
Okay, so-
the sitting dummies
Yeah,
that are
accent.
sit there like this.
and decent training dummies. So
Yeah.
he's got 2 skills,
Yeah, he's got.
only 2.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
But yeah, John, thanks for making time to be on the show today.
We're all shaking hands.
Yeah.
That's not going to be y'all.
No, that was really cool. Like, it's one of those professions that you wonder about and you think about what's that like, and what's that experience.
John McCain.
Yeah, and I think we found out that every police officer's life is exactly like Die Hard.
Yeah.
So
If you learned anything from this podcast, Die Hard is real, and the other guys is how you start.
yeah, there you go.
A small part of me now wishes the cameras, the technical issues, it stopped recording after the first 30 seconds. Oh, shoot, we didn't capture anything.
It's just didn't understand
So in
anything
summary-
I said.
Yeah. You can see the YouTube short now. So in summary, yeah.
King.
But yeah, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And
Thank you, and as always, catch you on the flip side.
No.